In these relationships, y'all got to treat it like a group project, and y'all really have to try to do your part. That's the way it
A
is.
group project, so it's just like polyamorous.
No, no, it's just two people in the project.
This one therapist, they reveal like the signs that your relationship is about to end.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The main thing is if one partner is consistently putting in more work, more effort, and more labor than the other, it's going to tip the balance eventually.
Mm-hmm.
He said, the partner putting in more work will have resentment and anger, and the union won't stand the test of time. Furthermore, he said, the partner putting in less effort will most likely be blindsided when the breakup happens. The partner who wasn't putting in as much effort will be shocked. Was this surprising to you? I mean, you're a Libra. You're all about balance.
Yeah. No, it's not surprising to me. Listen, in these relationships, y'all got to treat it like a group project, and y'all really have to try to do your part. That's the way it
A
is.
group project, so it's just like polyamorous.
No, no, it's just two people in the project. But
Okay.
well, I mean, depending, I don't want to judge anybody in their sexual activities. If you've got others in the in the kitchen cooking with you, then okay. But you got to pull your weight, and you both have to communicate and make sure that you work out who does what, and make sure that it's fair and that it works for you. But this isn't really surprising for me. I definitely get it.
Yeah, it takes two to tango.
Hmm.
I've been in situations where I felt like I was pulling more weight than the person I was with, and I would say most of the times I went through breakups, it was always surprising to the person. It's like, oh, surprise, don't want to be together anymore. It's kind of hard for someone to expect that unless something major happens. But if you just feel like things are unbalanced, if it's not working, and I feel like also if you're not putting that much work in, then of course you're not aware enough to know it's not working
Yeah.
because you're a lazy son of a bitch. It's like put that work in, do
Yeah,
something.
I mean, but that's where the communication comes in.
Yeah.
Talking about what your goals are, where you're headed, what you're trying to do over the next few months or next couple years, like the timeline for it, what needs to be done along the way. There's a lot of different things you got to talk about to make sure it's clear. Now, if somebody is still not pulling their weight and doing what they're supposed to do after that, you got decisions to make.
Yeah. I was actually expecting more from this article because when I saw it was just like generally like, oh, it's unbalanced. I'm like, okay, that kind of goes without saying. I thought there was actually going to be some more signs.
Yeah.
But I think it is also like very relevant, I think it's a good way to put it. Just so people can keep in mind that relationships do take work.
Yeah.
It does take both people.
It's just like self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like you have to. That's why I understand women get annoyed when they hear the whole "oh, what do you bring to the table" conversation. I understand that's like a loaded question, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so that's basically the person saying, "Are you pulling your weight? What are you doing for this relationship? What are you doing to get us to the next step? What are you doing to help us be great and like add value?" It doesn't necessarily have to be from a monetary sense. It could be a variety of different things that you do to make sure that you're uplifting your man, you're supporting him, and you're putting him and yourself in the best position to win.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I get people being annoyed with that conversation because a lot of people asking that question, they don't really bring that much to the table themselves. It's like,
Exactly.
it's like, yo, and I don't think that's any type of opener. I think you should be able to gauge through conversation what someone, if someone is a match to what your needs are. You shouldn't just be like, oh, what do you bring to the table? Because then it's just like you giving a job interview, and I think that's pretty fucking lame.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like no one approaching me in that way either. I'd be like, what do you bring to the table? Like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
But I think it's valid, to have those conversations in a fluid way. Like, what works for you. This one dating coach, she provided 3 reasons why you should like cancel a first date before you even get to that point, which I thought I agreed with a lot of what she said.
Yeah.
This dating coach advises that singles text, with their potential date to fill out their personality and intentions. She was like, the first topic of discussion to go over your values. They say values are important, an important component in finding a soulmate. Think kids or religion. This could be an immediate deal breaker if you disagree on this. And I feel like those are two big standpoints. I know I want to have kids eventually. I'm not sure the timing of that. But eventually I would want to be with someone who is excited about that too. Religion, I'm not religious myself, but I know a lot of people, that's important to them. And it's just like, I wouldn't want to be with someone who had that expectation of me. We have to be aligned on those things. Do you think that was good advice to discuss before you meet with someone, or is that a little bit too heavy for you?
So I think some of for this, like, values, I think they're better communicated in person. Like the whole point of having a first date or a first meetup or whatever you want to call it is so that you can discuss things. Sometimes the important stuff, you don't want to talk about it via text. I just don't think it's the best idea because sometimes the tone, the way somebody communicates, you don't even understand that yet because you haven't had a first date. So something could come across the right way or the wrong way via text, and then maybe you think, oh yeah, this works, or it doesn't work, when in reality, maybe if you had a face-to-face conversation, you could have read their tone, their facial expression. They could have explained in more detail than they would have in text. Values, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree.
It's a bit heavy. I would say, like, I try to gauge. I don't know. I put myself out there, and people have access to looking at this content. They have access to look at how I present myself outwardly. I feel like I'm pretty expressive, and I'm pretty open for questioning. I don't harp on things like that before a first date, but if someone's looking for something specific, I can understand. Troy, what did you think about that, like texting about like values before you meet up with someone?
I'm not a fan of it. One, personally, I'm not a texter. I'm not a good texter with stuff like that. There's too much nuance and stuff that gets like lost in translation. So like Bryan said, doing it in person, I think, is definitely important in a conversation you should have. Just not over text. There's too much. Way too much.
Fair. What's next?
Yeah, so it says, like, if the date overshares or continuously references sex during the texting phase, which, I hear a lot, like, from women, like, that guys do that. Yeah. And, I could see maybe if I was younger, maybe in college, doing that, but I don't even remember being like that, honestly. And, but for my personal rule, like, I don't talk about sex. Like, I don't bring it up until, like, I have sex with someone. Once I have sex with someone, I'm like, okay, we're familiar with it. We're familiar with each other. You know what it is. You know what I'm about. We can talk about it. But for me, I'm more of a doer than a talker. And I'm not trying to, like, hype something up before it even happens. I want to get to know you before I meet. So that would be a little bit of a red flag to me, too. And I feel like women are more subtle. So even... it's a turn off even if a woman starts talking to me sexually before I meet her. I'm like, are you a bot? Like, or are you something else? Like, are you a catfish? You know what I mean? Because that's a red flag.
I'm just seeing one of Nat's comments before. She was like, you need a man you can trust to lead to be able to do that. I'm not sure if she's talking about the previous topic. And then she said, I fell in love with her from day one just by smelling her hair. It wasn't love. The hair smelled really good, though.
You be smelling hair on first date?
I don't want to go into it right now. No, I don't. That's the answer to your question. No, I don't. But she did some voodoo shit to her hair. She did some brujeria. I don't know. But anyway.
Love at first smell. Love at first sniff.
It was different. Her hair has never smelled the same as that first day. It's crazy. Anyway, so I don't know. I think it depends. Like, if you're flirting and stuff, sometimes the sex stuff can come into conversation early on. Before a first date is probably a little bit weird, but after the first date, if there's chemistry and like y'all have started to get to first, second base, like then I think it's fair game.
Yeah, I think it's fair game too. It's just a little bit uncomfortable for me. It's just like, especially like with like online dating, you should be able to at least take from someone's profile or social media, get to know them through text to know if it's worth it or not. But yeah, I think that is also a red flag. Also, the last one she had mentioned is bad mouthing an ex. She said bad mouthing an ex is never a good look, especially before the first date or on the first date. She says if someone talks poorly about an ex, especially before the first date, it could imply that they're not over their ex, that they're bitter in some way, or that they don't take any personal accountability for a relationship that's not working. I always think this is a red flag too, because like I think it's lame. I have dated girls, like I remember I went out with this girl in college, like actually she gave me her number when she was out with a different guy. She actually just turned around and was just like, here, give me your phone. Let me put my number in your phone. So I was like, all right, whatever. That was already. She also had a personalized license plate with her name on it.
Yeah, that's a red flag for me.
But you know, there were some other attributes that I'm not going to go over. But hey,
Gets too specific.
a little bit. I mean, but this was a long time ago. But I remember, like, she kept being like, I hung out with her and it was annoying me because she was like, you're just like my ex. Like, you're just like him. And she was like naming his name. His name was like, I don't know, like Scotty. She was like, you're just like Scott. And I was like, yo, stop doing that. Like, I'm over it. So I think that's a giant red flag. You're not over some type of situation, especially when the accountability part, if you say, oh, my exes are crazy, it's just like, well, why are you attracted to all these crazy people?
And you can think that, but keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know that. It's just like when you're looking for a job, you don't talk about like all the reasons that you hate your current job.
Yeah.
You might say something simple like, oh, I'm looking for a better work-life balance, or, you know, I haven't been able to find an opportunity to really grow my career at this current role. Like, there's a diplomatic way to say like, nah, fuck this company.
Yeah.
But you got to find a diplomatic way to say, because I think it's fair game in a first date to ask, you know, oh, you're single, like, what happened to your last relationship? I think that's a fair question to ask somebody, but you also want to see how they respond.
Yeah. Yeah, I never even asked that question. I mean, I've been out with several girls who'd be like, yeah, you know, me and my ex, we broke up, but we still live together. And I'm like, damn, you broke as fuck.
Oh, damn, you're a fuck toy. Like,
I did not say that. It's just hard to believe, you know, that something isn't going on. But hey, you know, I try not to be too judgmental. I mean, honestly, that's not a deal breaker for me. It's just like, okay, I'll just wait till you get out that situation. But at least it's honest.
True.
You know, this one, the dating coach, they recommend sticking to a nifty acronym called NATO, not attached to an outcome, which I agree with.
Makes complete sense. When you go in with preconceived notions or expectations of somebody, that's how you set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah. So NATO, you know, rely on NATO unless you're Vladimir Putin, who hates NATO.
Or Ukraine, who wants to join NATO.
Let's not hope for a world war. But yeah, it's hard out there. You know, we talked about the list of places not to take women on a first date, which was pretty much like everything.
Yeah. Anywhere that is a chain restaurant, bowling, club, bar,
church,
casual drinks, church,
coffee.
Yeah, pretty much no dates that don't cost less than $500. So
subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify, follow on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, like
all the apps. We're everywhere. We are everywhere.